cool thing. And it shows us recording. Hi, this is Jeana Locke, and this is January the 5th, 2021. It's the first session of our new year on the soul container. So tonight we're going to work on what is releasing us from and preventing us from being a conduit of divine inspiration. So how do we get the divine inspiration? How do we allow it to come, and all of that stuff? So welcome. I am a transformational life coach who helps you get ready to help yourself when you want to move forward in life and to break through any of those upper limits that you've got, any of those things that are keeping you stuck and in a hole. I have a PhD in applied behavioral studies and education, and I have studied extensively in Eastern science modalities and training in 10 of them. I'm certified in emotion code, Akashic records, working on human design, and will finish up body code. My studies will be certified in 2021 in these other areas. The purpose of the soul container is to hold sacred space for you so you can release, you can activate, and you can move forward in life. So tonight, our whole purpose is this is going to be helpful for you if you're ready to receive divine inspiration. You do not know when you receive divine inspiration. You believe you're blocking divine inspiration due to some kind of fear of knowing it or some other fear that you're even unaware of. You feel powerless and unconnected from your soul's wisdom, from your higher self. You feel frozen or unable to respond and act when you do receive divine inspiration. And you're trying to force things into being instead of allowing. So that's the purpose of tonight's releases and activations, is to help work on that. As always, the purpose of the soul container is to help you move out of survival into thriving, and to provide transformational experiences for yourself, as well as those who you are energetically touching each day, whether it's in a direct thing or whether it's just because you thought of them or just because you know that they're a connection with you. So the releases for everyone who's in the group tonight, and all of those who have signed up and purchased the program or been a part of this or gifted the program, or any of those who are going to watch it later at any point who have been purchased it or has been gifted to. So if you're driving, please don't do this at this point. It is use your attention and stay on the attention of anything for operating a car or taking care of children or cooking or anything of that nature. So as I've gotten prepared tonight, I stopped earlier in the afternoon and I had each person be placed into their own sacred soul container. I'm in mine, and each of the souls in this group. And there's an other for anyone that I didn't know the name of. And they are all placed in a sacred soul container where their soul's energy is contained within it. So it can be released and go back to God, but it won't go to anybody else in the group. That's an important thing to know, and it's a sacred place to be. So some people in the group may want to re-listen to some of this at a later date, or may want to re-listen because of the fact that they may experience higher vibrations as they go. So if you set your intention to do this for certain topics, you can probably get that to work. So first, I would like to stop and do my prayer. The light of our Creator surrounds us. The love of our Creator holds us. The power of our Creator protects us. The spirit of our Creator watches over us wherever we are. The grace of our Creator shields us from interferences. Ooh, I got a no on that. The grace of our Creator shields us from interferences. Thank you. Yes. The intention of our Creator is to restore, rebuild, and reconnect our sovereign connection to the Creator. Yes, that's our intention. Thank you. We're going to do an energy clearing tonight. I'm going to go down and just do the normal thing I do for grounding that many of you have seen. When I use numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, those are referring to the chakras. 1 is root, 2 is sacral, 3 is solar plexus, 4 is heart, 5 is throat, 6 is your third eye, this area right here, and 7 is your crown. So when I start from God and do all of the chakras between us and God. You know, there's There are so many things out there about different ways chakras are done. I have no need to get a huge deal into it. I just need to clean the energy between me and God. And to do that, I just use chakras, and it works really well for me. So I count as though that there's a chakra at 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I muscle test to see that I've cleared as much energy as possible. Then I'll do the physical chakras, then the earth chakras, the ones below that go to the center of the earth. Then those are all in releasing, which is counterclockwise. And we'll drop off all of the negative energies that have been picked up into a big compost pile. I use a compost pile at the bottom of at the center of the earth. I have this great big compost pile down there. And when I drop all of the stuff off, it's sort of like there's this, each of the little glitters in what comes down from God has got all these, it has like Velcro on it, and it picks up and it collects all of the dust and the dirt and the negatives in around us and our auras. And then when we get down, I have do this emotional release where it dumps it off, and it dumps it into the compost pile like a little dump truck. Dumps it off into this compost pile when it stays in that compost pile. And then every year when I see the new peonies come up, which I love, peonies are my favorite flower. I love roses. The fancy peonies and roses come up, I see that what I do is I know that all of that gunk and junk and yuck has been in that compost pile and has been rejuvenated into awesome, wonderful, rich soil, which is now good and positive and awesome and smells wonderful and looks wonderful and is wonderful for our world. So that's sort of my visualization. So when I come back up, I do clockwise, and I come up and I ask to activate each of those same chakras coming up, to ask them to be able to, that God can activate them so that you will receive the most of this. The reason we're doing this tonight, and I'll do it, and I often do it before, I do it every time before we start, but not online. I'm doing it online tonight because of the fact that so many people have had so many energies hitting them in the last 3 to 5 days that have texted me and mentioned that they're having a really hard time with energies hitting them or getting connected, or their souls not being able to be attached to their bodies. And so I'm just going to stop tonight. We're just going to take the time to clear that energy, and then we're going to do energy bodies. So I'm going to start with getting connected to God. I just experience God being as far up as you want. I experience it just 300 or 400 feet above me. And I feel this light that goes all around, and it's within my aura. It's my biofield, whatever you want to call it. It's the energy field around me. And it's that energy field. Some people call it auras. So we're just going to stop, and I'm going to count down to clear the energy in the star chakras. That's between me and God. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2. Got it. 1. Now I'm at the physical body. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going down to the earth chakras. That's just what I call them. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dropping off all of the negative energy that was in all that glitter. We're just dropping it off into the compost pile on the bottom. Now I'm going to asking God, the creator, the universe, the source of all there is, to activate each of these same chakras as they come up, so that you may receive the greatest benefit and the most positive experience from this session tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. I'm at the physical body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Now I'm going to go to the star chakra above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go back to God, the creator, the source of all that is. And I'm going to ask if I need to clean any more, if I need to clean the energy again. Do I need to clean this energy again? No. May I have a continuous loop that is continuously cleaning the energy and dropping it off and continuously activating when it comes up, and does that throughout our session until we end? Yes, thank you. Thank you. So we've cleansed our energy and your energy fields. For those of you who've not done that before, now I'm going to do a little reboot on our energy fields around us to bring back our energies that are lost. I, serving as a proxy for this group, ask to place your mental, your emotional, your physical, and your spiritual bodies into the light of the Creator, the source of all that is, for the purpose to revive and rejuvenate all of your energy bodies, your energy fields, your aura, and all aspects of your energy system. I ask to restore and rebuild balance in your energy fields, your aura, your energy system. I ask to transmute and correct all non-beneficial energies in all aspects and in any and all energetic and physical environments. I ask to return these to the Creator, and that they are transformed into a frequency that produces and establishes well-being in each of the bodies, emotional, physical, spiritual, mental. And I ask to search in all aspects and search over all of any of the energy of each of these souls that has been given away, sent away, lost, stolen, misused, held in captivity, abducted, enslaved, hypnotized, and any codes that are there, please ask them to be released. I ask to release the codes and bring back all of the energies for each of these souls back to the point where it was removed from them and corrected at that point of origin. I ask to increase the healthy energy boundaries, to adjust all aspects of each of you to enjoy the peace and tranquility of your strengthened, sovereign energy bodies in your aura, your energy field, and remove all aspects of interferences. I ask to remove all aspects of interferences and then correct all. And I ask to correct conflicts between each of our energy bodies, any of our bodies in our system, emotional, physical, spiritual, mental. And I ask to correct it at the source of the struggle in all aspects. Thank you. I ask for harmony for all parts of my soul with my physical body, my mental body, my spiritual body, and my emotional body. I ask for harmony for all parts of my soul with my physical body, mental body, spiritual body, and emotional body. For those of you who are not getting it, you need to check which body it's not being able to connect with. We're going to add financial body. I ask to have all energy fields charged to the most appropriate level and polarized to move in the most appropriate direction for each of our energy systems, and to search through each of my energy fields and each of your energy fields to create distinct energetic channels for each, which flow, which surround, which hold, which protect, which shield, which restore and rejuvenates each of you as a sovereign part of the Creator. Some of you may need to reread this. I ask for these channels to be sealed and synced properly with each other. I ask for this or better, for the best of all, and so be it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So tonight, we are going to work on what is preventing you from being a conduit of divine inspiration. And you know something, this is going to hit everybody on everything. All of us want to have divine inspiration, and sometimes we accept when it comes, and sometimes we avoid it and we don't allow it to come in. So tonight we're asking to be able to release, neutralize, and eliminate all in all aspects of anything that is preventing us from being able to have that divine inspiration. The first one that came in was toxins. And this was a very unusual one for me. It's a new one that came up. I've got to make a toxin table. Toxins from society, toxins from the family religious aspects that are telling us that it's not acceptable to know what your higher self is saying. Toxins who say you must get permission from a certain leader to actually tell you if it's okay to have that inspiration, that it is not okay, that you are crazy if you do that. So we need to release toxins from the environment, putting upon us that it's wrong for us to know what our divine inspiration is. So tonight I'm just going to use, oh my goodness, I should have released these earlier. This may be stronger than I thought. The next one is taboo, that it's taboo to actually know your divine inspiration. Because when somebody actually thinks you're taboo, then they think you can read their mind, and they're fearful of you. It's like you're going to read what I'm thinking. You know what I'm thinking. You're going to do what I'm thinking. And they make it taboo, make you feel that it's taboo to do this. We'd like to release from you any feelings that this is taboo, because the challenge on this is that our divine inspiration is our own. We're not trying to tell others, or we're not trying to get into others. And then without their permission, we're not going to go in and get their information. So it is taboo to know, and that's society, that's family, and that's religions. And that is the taboo part. We're releasing the feeling of being taboo. The next one is inherited. It's an inherited emotion, which means that it's come down through the DNA. It's come down from generation to generation to generation and generation, and everybody's had some of it, where it's been like, should I actually do this? Because someone in some other past life that was in this family lineage had something happen that was very, very negative when they used their divine inspiration. And there are people who've used divine inspiration that have changed the world, but they may have died, and they may have passed away in the process from that occurring in that particular incarnation. And but other people didn't see it as being a big changer. It would be someone like Martin Luther King. Look at what he did to change our world in such a positive way. And yet people might look at that and say, oh, he used his divine inspiration and the divine words that came through him and out through him that flowed. And then look what happened to him. So that some of them would see that as a negative. That's why we want to release anything about it. There's humiliation if they listened and they told others. There was fear of death. There was fear of scarcity. There was punishment that occurred. Any of the emotions that you can imagine that you've heard of if you were to speak of this. And how many of us have been told to not tell anybody that we know? I can remember my grandmother saying to me very carefully, I know you know, but you don't need to tell anybody. So it was a very much of an inheritance. We're going to release that. That's 10 swipes. Thank you. The next one is a trapped emotion of overjoy. This is a time when we actually used our divine inspiration, and we had the most awesome experience we ever had. It was awesome. It was totally fabulous. It was wonderful. It was great. We loved it. And we're never going to let that happen again because it was so fabulous. There's nothing that can ever be that good again. So we're never going to let it happen again. So overjoy is either that upper end that will never let it go there, or it's going to be that lower end and I'm never going to let it get that bad. So when we've used our divine inspiration and we've walked in the door and done something that was a divine inspiration and we lived it and we did it, but it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to look when it was finished. And it was really hard for us afterwards, even if it moved us to a new place or to a new level or to a new thing, and we came out of it so much better, we can still see that as a very low level that we'll never let ourselves go there again. So there are things in my life that I've had when I have been homeless, when I didn't have a place to sleep and I didn't know where I was going to go and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I slept in my car. And when that happened on it is that I have a very, very strong low, that overjoy at the low level is that I'm never again going to put myself into a situation where I'm sleeping in my car or that I don't have a place to sleep or I can't take a shower. Or I haven't got that opportunity. And I have found I've really had to clear to not go into a fear mode when the divine has asked me to do something that is really outside of my boundaries, because I have this overjoyed fear of going that low that I'm fearful that something will happen. And so releasing this, releasing overjoy, the low, 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 that it can never get that bad. I never can let this happen again. And the high, high, high. The next one is a brand new one that's come up that I haven't ever had before. And it was very interesting, and it hasn't come into any others, but it was sins. And that it was sinful. It's sinful to do this. This is a sin to do this. This is like outside the boundaries of my religious experiences or my religious studies or my religious training that I had growing up, my family origin. It was the sin of being rebellious, unholy, and irreverent. And in that it is that it is a whole difference of this being a religious belief, that it's a sin to listen to your divine inspiration and live it, and that you could actually know it, that you didn't have to have a pastor or a preacher or someone else who was better than you to be able to do it. So the sin was of being rebellious, unholy, or irrelevant. And it was really a difference of us looking at ourselves as spiritual versus being religious. Many people in the religious organizations are very, very spiritual, and they would never put you down. But then there are others who would immediately be critical of you if you did it. So we're going to release any and all sins related to knowing your divine inspiration. You can probably think of a lot more than the ones I've just named. So we're releasing any sins that are associated, inherited, past life, or even in this current life. When it was a sin to know, it was a sin to hear it. It was a sin to understand it. It was a sin to do it. The next one is a negative belief. And the negative belief is that I cannot discern between my soul's wisdom and my ego. And I can't do that. So this surely couldn't have been inspiration. There's just no way that could have been inspiration. That's just my ego trying to get me to do something that's way out there. That's not something that's real. So we're going to release whatever's holding this in place. And there's a few emotions holding it in place. And the first one was shock. And it was sometime when you felt traumatized, when you listened and you sort of attempted, but you didn't maybe get the whole message, or you didn't make the whole attempt, or you told somebody about it and they did something, and the shock and your trauma that you received from it. But ego sent out a fear of actually listening. You shouldn't listen to that. That's not what you should do. I'm going to tell you what to do. So the shock of being traumatized and ego trying to make sure you don't ever do it again. Okay, you did that before. It didn't work. Don't do that again. We're going to release shock so that you can discern between your soul's wisdom and ego. Yes, thank you. The next one is feeling lost. I think a bunch of you felt that way. You felt lost. I felt lost. I felt totally lost until I knew it. I could not discern before I started doing this work. I could not discern between my soul's wisdom and my ego. And I felt totally lost. And I felt lost. And I described it as I felt lost. I felt lost. I felt abandoned. I felt alone. And I was very emotional. And it was, I could not see any course of action. I couldn't see a way to do it. I couldn't see a way to process it. I couldn't see a way to consider it. I couldn't even see a way out of things. So the word lost, the word abandoned, the word lonely, the word scary, we're releasing all of those so that we can see the correct course of action. You want me to add that on the back? Okay. The next one is stubbornness. How many of us have been stubborn? I have. As a matter of fact, I've been called on it recently in the last few days by a good friend who's a healer, who said, you're being a little stubborn, don't you think? Or maybe she's called it hard-headed at times, or are you sure you're not like trying to like block that? And it's been a fair thing to say, because stubbornness is being unbendable, being resistant to going to that far, to whatever it is that perhaps that divine inspiration is said to do. And it is that whole concept of being resistant to learning and trying and allowing. And the resistance to trying, there's a resistance to learning. There's a resistance to even allowing it to come through. And we have a huge deal in that stubbornness on our part. And it it may be conditioning that we've had, and it may be that we've been told that's what we're supposed to do and we should do it. So what I would like to say to you is we're going to release stubbornness because each of us have had it. Stubbornness has been a really strong one. I've been very stubborn on some things. I've been very resistant on some things. And I can tell you that today, I realized as this was coming out, and it came out for stubbornness, and the part about resistance and trying and doing was that since my right eye disconnected with the macular hoe, that I have been very resistant to doing my certification exams and my classes because of the timed factor and how hard it is to read. And instead of just going in there and seeing how it goes and seeing if I can make it work or seeing what I can do, and I recognize that the pandemic happened and my plan had been to go and be monitored by someone, and all of a sudden I couldn't be, but I was very resistant. So stubbornness was a really big thing. My soul's wisdom told me to go do this, go do this, go do this. And then go do it. So now I'm going to go do it. But today it was a huge factor for me to see this one to release. And as I came to this and it came up so strongly, the only thing I could see was me being resistant to the concept of doing that because of fear of something in my life. So that resistance is usually led by a fear. If you have a fear of something that you want to do really badly and you keep getting it pushed in your face, or you keep hearing about it, or you keep seeing it, or you keep being exposed to it, and you haven't embraced it, and your heart is just tugging at you to do it, it's just begging you to do it, and you're not doing it, then it could be that you have stubbornness and resistance because you want, your soul's letting you know, your ego's trying to overload it, and it's trying to prevent you from doing it. So we are releasing stubbornness. Low self-esteem. We need to release the low self-esteem, that not believing that you can do it. And this is usually often early in the journey of that, when you have that first challenge of when it doesn't come with ease, and it doesn't come real quickly, and it doesn't come real smoothly, and it doesn't come fast, that all of a sudden we think, oh, we're not good enough. We weren't really good enough. Who did we think we were that we could actually do that? Why on earth would we think this? That imposter syndrome of that whole deal. So we're going to release this low self-esteem, because sometimes when you're learning a new language and you're learning to communicate with a new group, you must recognize that you don't get the communications perfectly. So I can do a little bit of Spanish, but not a lot. And I can do a little bit of my Chickasaw, my native tribe has its own language. And I can do a little bit of it. And I can speak hellos and goodbyes, and I can say grandmother. I can do things. But until I get really proficient in it, I'm not going to do it. Do I have low self-esteem in those areas when I try to do it and I do not do the other? Or do I allow myself the compassion to recognize that I need to give myself either more training and allow myself to train more, give myself more opportunities to have the experiences that are provided to me? My tribe gives a whole complete unit on how to learn the language and speak it and to be able to do it. And my purpose for wanting to do it was to speak with my grandmother in my language. And now I don't have that as much. And so I haven't tried as much. English is common where I live. I don't have to speak Spanish to be able to survive. So, but I have low self-esteem when I'm learning it because it's so much easier to go back to the English. So we're going to release the low self-esteem that is holding you in a pattern where you don't go ahead and go to that next level of trying to do something new and different that you wouldn't have done. And guess where it might have taken you? Just imagine where it might have taken you. We're going to release it. The next one is feeling uninspired, unprepared to be inspired. That you feel like, I'm not prepared to do this. I'm not prepared to accept this inspiration. I'm not prepared. And to be, you wouldn't be in this group if you weren't prepared. You heard the prayer tonight. You heard the energy bodies tonight. You are prepared to be able to receive divine inspiration. And you're going to get those breadcrumbs that are just going to come. You're going to get them. And being open to them and willing to have them. So we want to release that fact that you're not spiritual enough yet. Yes, you are. You're perfect. You may not talk the way some people do who are into the super things. I've heard some people talk and I don't enjoy listening to them talk. I want some common practical words to be able to live with every day. I'm not a gourmet cook. I'm the same way with my words. I want them to be something that everyone can grasp, not something that only those who are in some kind of special program can have any understanding of. So as you do that, if you feel unprepared, we're going to release being unprepared, because you are spiritual enough. You do have enough training. You do have enough of everything to be able to do this. The next one is a limiting belief that, oh, that couldn't have been real. That really didn't happen. I think the first time I really had a big inspiration in my life, I couldn't hardly believe that it really happened. Like, I mean, I really couldn't believe that it really happened. I really did it, and it turned out so well. And I've written about it. And I wouldn't say it's the first time. It was my big first memory of one. It's when I went in one day and I made the decision. I was getting ready to turn 40. I was 4 months from turning 40. And I looked in the mirror, and I had tried to finish my doctorate. I'd had a death in my family, and my doctoral dissertation chair had said, oh, we can't do this right now. There's too much trauma in your life. And he didn't get it, that there was no trauma from that death. But he thought that the passing of my mother was going to be a big trauma, and he would not even let me work on it. So I came into that summer, and at the end of the summer, I stopped, and I was really, really looking at this. And I said, I want to finish this, and I want to do it now. So I walked in to my spouse, and I said, with a really true deal, and I was totally have no idea where it came in. It flowed through me without anything, because I'd prayed all the way home from work. And I said, what would you think about me? And what would it take for me to quit my job and finish my doctorate and get it done and then go get a new job? And I'm not sure if he was actually listening or if he was totally on board, because he said, sure, go for it. So I went sit down at my computer. I wrote my resignation letter. I printed it. I took it, signed it. I took it to my next morning at my office opened at 7:30. I was at my office at about 7:15. I made an appointment to see my boss, who I thought the world of, Mr. DeMint. And I went upstairs, knocked on his door, made my appointment. By 8:30, I'm in his office. I'm sitting there, and he said, what is it? It's important. I said, yeah, it is. And I said, here's my resignation letter. I'm going to go finish my doctorate. And I literally was going to go finish my doctorate. And I was resigning. And he looks at me and he said, well, let me think about it. So he comes back in. He says, give me half a day. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to finish it. And he's like, no, give me half a day. You hold on to this. I'll come and find you by the end of the day. So before the end of the day, by 3 o'clock, he's in my office, and he stands there, and he never came to my office. This was just not his cup of tea, which was fine. And he said, what would you think about going half time for 6 months if I could get the board to approve it? I sort of looked him in the eye, and I'm like, oh, crap, I don't want to do that. But he's like, no, really. And I said, well, okay, because this man, he says, I was ABD, which is all but dissertation, and I never finished it. I want you to finish it, but I don't want to lose you. And I want you to be here. So how can I make that happen is by doing this. He went to the board, the board met in the next 2 weeks. The board met, he took it to the board, presented it, did the whole thing. I expected the board to deny it. The board approved the whole thing, much to my shock and dismay. The next day, I worked from home for the next 6 months with full insurance, but half pay. And I did half time working with my job, and I had a certain amount of functions. All of my supervision was handed off to someone else. And all I had to do was do my programs that I was over, all of the cooperative agreements and dual credit and early college, high school programs. And then the other component of that was I did my dissertation. I finished it before the 6 months were up. And as I did it and I completed it, and when I completed it and I was hooded, he was in the audience, and he was so proud, because to him, he had just received his doctorate as well. That was when I felt inspired enough to act. And I remember it so vividly that I walked in and did it. My husband almost had a heart attack when I got home the night after I said I'd resign, because he said, you really did it? How are we going to pay the bills? And I said, I don't know. It's going to work out. So just so you know, being prepared sometimes is that we are afraid that we can't. So we're going to release unprepared, and it cannot be real, and not knowing where the breadcrumbs are. Thank you. So next part is feeling lost in the how to, when to, and where to. You get divine inspirations everywhere. You get them here. You're going to get them walking. You're going to get them driving. You're going to get them online. You're going to get them from an ad you read. You're going to get them all over the place. And being open to when and where, and not asking how it comes, and not dictating how it comes. Not saying this is the only way I can get divine inspiration. I can only get divine inspiration when I'm in meditation. I can only get divine inspiration when I'm journaling. I can only get divine inspiration when I'm working with my coach. That's not true. You can get divine inspiration all the time. It's learning to be able to stop and know with what you're getting and to be able to do that. We want to release that whole fear of that you're lost and not knowing when and how, but you don't need to know how or where. You just need to know that it's going to come and accept. The next one is a limiting belief that others are going to judge me. Boy, how many of us have felt that one. So that little story I told you about Mr. Dement coming down. I had people from, this was a very large district I worked in. There were 50,000 students and probably around 2,000 employees. And I had people coming and calling me from everywhere like, oh my God, I can't believe you would even ask the board to do this. Oh, what do you think's going to happen? And they were all in these, what I'm going to call the drama queen attitude of it. And I was like, I don't care. I'm resigning the next day and I'll give a 2-week notice, but I'm finishing my doctorate and I'm going to do it this year, period. It doesn't matter. I had no attachment to whether or not Andy got that halftime thing. I was only doing the halftime thing because Andy asked me to, not because I wanted it. I wanted to finish the doctorate. I had no attachment to the other, but the judgment of other people, the statements that came out of their mouth. When I look back now and realize if I had held on to any of that, I probably would have never had this come through, because I actually finished my doctorate with so much ease and grace that it was a shock to me of how much ease it was. That whole thing of knowing what to do, that others would judge me and doing it, and I'd be abandoned. I'd be left out. You'd be lost. Aren't you afraid the board's going to be mad at you? Aren't you afraid of who's going to expect something else? So we need to release that others will judge and release their judgments when they do, because they judge. It doesn't particularly matter when somebody judges and when they don't judge, because everybody judges you. They may not tell you they judge you, but they judge today. Your hair looks beautiful and it looks comparison to this day. Or that's a great color on you, or that's not a great color on you. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the background you used. Or they judge constantly. Don't worry about it. Let go of judgments. Let go of their judging. Let go of what their judging thinks to you. The next one is an out of alignment positive belief. Out of alignment positive beliefs means this is something that we wish were true, but it's not true because we don't believe it's true. And what we wished was true was I make intelligent choices found in my highest truth. So I make intelligence choices found with my highest truth, my soul's wisdom. And do I actually do that? Do I actually make highest intelligence choices based upon that? And what we'd like to stop and do is to say that there's a few things keeping that from being in alignment. The first one is wishy-washy. So the reason that's not in alignment and it's out of alignment, the person in the group with the lowest, with who's most out of alignment, who's out of alignment the most at the highest, at the greatest amount, is at it's 21%. They're only 21% in alignment of that. I can make intelligent choices found in my highest truth. The one in the highest alignment with that is we have someone in the group, more than one. 3 at this point. 3 who are in 100% alignment with it. They know that they can make intelligent choices found in their highest truth. And I bet if we were to stop and do a question and answer with those 3 and sit down and allowed the others in this group to ask them questions, you would find that they've gone through every one of these things that we've talked about and already released those emotions. They've already released being stubborn. They've already released feeling low self-esteem when they didn't do it. They've already released the trauma and shock of trying of ego, trying to interfere. They've already had how many people have released that whole deal, it's taboo to do this, and had to let go of it, and the family dictating and obligations that come with it. So with that is that's where they're at. But there's a few things beyond those other things that are holding this belief in place, that I make intelligent choices found in my highest truth, that are keeping it out of alignment. And the first one was wishy-washy, and it's I can't make a decision. It's like, I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to be responsible for that decision. If I'm responsible for that decision and I'm wrong, then I'm the only one responsible. I can't go blame my mother anymore. And I can't go blame my coach anymore. And I can't go blame my friend anymore. I can't blame my spouse anymore. I can't blame my children anymore. Wishy-washy and the decision-making part is a huge thing, because we blame someone else all we can. And if we can let go of the wishy-washy and let go of the blame, let go of not being able to make a decision. And how many people have said to you, when you get ready to do something that steps into your divine inspiration, and you step into it and you're doing it, and they say, why are you doing that? And they try to make you defend it. We need to release defending our divine inspiration. There is no reason to have to defend it. It is what it is that it is. So Sunday morning, I woke up, and I have been visiting my spouse in Oklahoma, and I live down in Texas. And I got up Sunday morning. Everything was ready to go back down to Texas, my 4-hour drive. Everything was ready. Everything was packed. Everything was put together. Everything was organized. I literally jump in the shower, get out of the shower, put on some clean clothes, put those things into the car, which were totally, completely packed and ready, every drop of everything. And I got up and I almost broke into tears. I went over to pick up one of the baskets, and I couldn't even pick it up. I went and got some coffee, drank some coffee. I tried to calm down. I'm like, what's going on? I went and took a shower. What's going on? I called a friend. Boy, that's what you should do sometimes. I called and I said, okay, this is going to sound really crazy. I have this great, beautiful office in Texas with a standing desk, which you guys all know I love standing desk. And I get to stand all the time. It's so easy to work. It's so simple to work. Everything is easy. Everything is ease there. There is nothing but ease. It's ease. It's ease in working arrangements. It's ease in not being disturbed. It's ease in the environment, the feel. Everything is ease. And here it's an uncomfortable desk and noise everywhere, and people coming in and out, and interference is coming, and not a great place to work, and all kinds of stuff that make it a challenge. And I'm like, I can't go back to Texas. And I'm told by my guides not to go back down. And she was like, oh my gosh, I got that same thing this morning. And so I had to figure out how I was going to go explain to my spouse that I was not going to go back to Texas, even though he always hears how much easier it is for me to work in Texas. And I have lots and lots of stuff going this week. So the ease of it was significant, especially for this week. And I accepted that, that's what it is. So I just went and said, hey, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to work from here this week. For some reason, I'm not supposed to. Something's guiding me to not get on the road. I don't know if it's something about driving back. I don't know if it's something about the pandemic. I don't know if it's something about being here for you, if something were to happen. I don't know what it is. But I'm supposed to be not on the road today. That's all I know. And I'm not supposed to go back this week. And he was really quiet. He sort of looked at me like, you've got to be crazy. And he started to say something. And then he said, okay. And I said, really? I really had a download to not go. And he didn't say anything. But he used to. He would have probably said something. So sometimes you have no explanation of why. So as this week has gone on, the clarity that I've gotten, the information that I've gotten, and some of the things that have occurred that have been very, very helpful for me. It's been very clarifying for me of being able to understand some of the interferences that I've been having in life and being able to see them. So I'll just say, as you go through that, is that this is one of those times when it was really good to stop and listen to my guidance, but I still don't know why. I can't say to you, this is why. Maybe I will. And maybe I'll never know. Maybe there was a big accident that I would have been in the middle of that I'm not in the middle of. Maybe there was some kind of outbreak, or maybe they've been out of electricity. I don't even know that. I just know this was the thing to do. The next one is that we perceived we made bad decisions in the past. and that others would judge us, and we judged ourselves. We perceived we made some really bad decisions. So we can't turn around and make intelligence choices based upon our soul's wisdom, because we did that before and we made a really bad decision. But how do we know it was a bad decision? How do I know that this was a bad decision? I don't. And it's one of those things where I know it's not, but I don't know why it was a good decision. But I don't need to know why it was a good decision. I'm healthy, I'm alive, I'm good. He's healthy, he's alive, he's good. All is well. That's all that counts. But it was one of those deals where we perceive something and we are so afraid of doing that again. But oftentimes, were they really bad decisions, or were they lessons we were supposed to learn? Were they things we were supposed to have had? So we're going to release the perception that we had bad decision making in the past. The next one is sickness memory of others making fun of us. This is the bullies in the world who made fun of the person who spoke or talked in a spirituality vocabulary. This is those who made fun of them about their intuition. It's like, oh yeah, so I take it that woo-woo thing happened, or they do things like that. So as you say that, is that the bullying or any other thing like that, and it was a memory of you seeing it happen to someone else. You see this memory, either a visual memory of it, and it's just like you literally feel sick at the thought of that happening to you. You feel sick at that bully making fun of you. You feel sick at being pressured to do things in other ways because of the fact that you can't explain the energy we cannot see. You and I cannot explain how you are hearing my voice when there are people in Australia here. There are people in Canada here. There are people in California. I'm in Oklahoma. There are people in all over the world. There are people who will be listening all over the United States, and there are people who will be listening in several other countries. There's energy that we can't see, but we don't sit and worry about it because the world's become accustomed that it's okay to do that now. So as we begin to embrace that memory sickness of bullies and stuff, is that hopefully you're going to be able to embrace the fact that just because they don't understand that energy is there, that you do. So we're releasing the sickness memories of others making fun of someone because they use their intuition. The last one is an idea allergy. You have an idea allergy that if you do this, you receive the divine inspiration, that something will happen to you, that, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because there's this idea allergy because of that memory of the bullies and the people making fun of them, and the people who say that they shouldn't do that, and people who've done predictions for years and things that go along, that all of the words that have been said about them that are very negative. You have this idea allergy of something that's going to happen to you. But we all have these ideas of how things are supposed to happen and how they're supposed to turn out. And it reminded me of that song by Garth Brooks. It's called The Dance. And in it, he talks about there was his high school flame, and he had loved this person, and he had prayed to God for everything, for this to work out, and for that to be the person that he would spend his life with. And then he went back to his class reunion 10, 20 years later, married to this wonderful woman that he loved with all of his heart. And he recognized as he ran into his old high school flame that if God had answered that prayer, he wouldn't be where he was. He wouldn't be, number one, he wouldn't have been Garth Brooks for sure. And he wouldn't have been able to have done all the things he had done. The whole song talks about all the things that happened. But if he had allowed his original belief of what the world was supposed to look like, he would have never made it to where he was. And it was the dance. So please embrace it. Let go that it has to look like this. Release it. That is an idea allergy that you have. And embrace the dance. Embrace dancing to the flow of ease and smoothness of the music so that you can experience the greatest, most beautiful, soulful, loving, compassionate experiences ever. So we are now going to rejuvenate our records. So let me go grab my pendulum. So we're going to release any of these energies that we've done and collapse those timelines. Collapse all of these energies out of your Akashic records. We're, we're releasing all of those out of your Akashic records as well, not just out of your energy field, but out of your Akashic records. Oh, my pendulum's turning white. Neat. Thank you. Rejuvenate our records, optimize them. Optimize, optimize, optimize. It's just like when you optimize your computer, you clean out the gunk and you get it gone, restructure and get it organized the way it needs to be so you can find what you need when you need it and only get the lessons. Yes. Recalibrate. Yes. Okay, so now we're going to activate feeling safe to be inspired. Activating safe to be inspired. We're going to activate knowing what divine inspiration feels like. And we would like to download that. So I'd like for each of you to close your eyes and just allow the Creator, God, the source of all that is, to download into you what it actually feels like when divine inspiration shows up in your life. What it feels like, what you sense, what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you know. Download into you what that would be, because many of you have never, ever had it happen. So you don't know when it shows up that it's there. So we want to download a really good sample of it. I'm like, God, the Creator, the source of all that is, download this into your energetic field so you recognize it and you feel safe that it's okay to allow it to happen. Downloaded. The next one, we're going to ask to download what it feels like, that it's safe to receive it. Not that what it feels like to get it, but it's safe to get it. It's safe, that nothing can hurt you when it happens, that nothing bad's going to happen to you. You're not crazy. You're not hearing things. You're not One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest movie. You are just fine. So we want to download that it is safe to receive divine inspiration. So we want to download divine inspiration into each of you, that it's safe, 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 safe. You always have the free will to choose if you do it or not. But now it's going to be safe to at least receive it, and then you can choose. 10, 20, 30, 95, 96, 100. Got it. Okay. The next one we want you to do is that you're prepared for receiving, that you take the action, you take the steps, you take the process to know to be prepared. That means learning how to communicate with your guides. That means recognize when your guides are communicating with you, when your soul's wisdom is communicating, recognize when it shows up. I've shared many times. I started this process with lime green vehicles. That's what I started it with. That was my way of starting this. When I saw a lime green vehicle, I knew divine inspiration was showing up to talk to me. And it was a great process for me. I can tell you that I was talking with a good friend today, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's 1:11." And it was 1:11 in her time. My time was a little different, but it was great because it was such an affirmation of what we were speaking of, was that it was a divine inspiration for us to work on. It was that divine inspiration of a next step that was to go forth. And it was a truly awesome thing for her. The numbers of the and for me, I get the same thing. Mine are usually in twos, but for her, she can get anything that's a matching number. It's the same number, 222, 333, 111, whatever that may be. It's just certain ones that have more meaning. But I can tell you right now that we both felt it as soon as she said it. Oh my gosh, It's 1111, which are pretty magical numbers anyway. And you could feel it inside of us. I felt the awesomeness inside my body. So being prepared to receive, being open to receiving communication. Do you not think that was a communication we received? We're sitting here talking about a major process that we want to implement and that we want to build and do. And at 11:11, it pops out to her that she's at 11:11, and something shows up that made her notice it. Can you imagine the dynamics of that? But being able to stop and recognize it, being able to identify it, being able to respond and go, yes, thank you for showing that to me. Thank you. That is a great thing. And we'd also like to activate that you are able to explain to your higher self, to your soul's wisdom, to your guides, when you understand and when you do not. And being able to clarify that I understood that and be able to get those answers back that, yes, this is what it is, and no, it's not. If you aren't learning how to do it, then learning muscle testing is a great way to do it. Please stop and recognize the value of learning that and how you can do that for each of you at it. They want you also to activate accepting divine inspiration. How many of us have gotten divine inspiration and we run from it? So how many of us have dated somebody and we had a red flag come up and we got divine inspiration to run? Do not date that person. They're not the right one. You got some kind of a job offer and you were to run. Don't take that job. Divine inspiration said, don't do it. Sometimes divine inspiration is do not go there. And that is when you accept divine inspiration. And can you actually do that? Can you actually do what you know is right for you, not for what society says? And then they'd like to activate ease in assimilating your life experiences in collaboration with divine inspiration. Ease in assembling all of your life experiences and your divine inspiration. They want you to activate that. Yes. They want you to activate that you can see the correct course of action when the divine inspiration comes, or the next step. Here's who I should connect with. You feel ease, you feel confident. And they want you to they want to activate that you can thrive and be a part of society successfully, be spiritual, receive divine inspiration, and act upon divine inspiration. They want you to recognize the society is changing so you can actually thrive by being a part of society, being spiritual, receiving divine inspiration, and acting upon divine inspiration, and doing that. The last thing they'd like us to do is to stop and just do a really quick thing, is that when you're not getting your divine inspiration, is you can say, what would it take for me to receive my divine inspiration? What would it take for me to receive my divine inspiration now? Neutralize all and all aspects of anything non-beneficial and pains in the butt that are preventing this from occurring. Transform all those non-beneficials and pains in the butt energies into energy that is acting for me, and activate that I get the message. What would it take for this to occur? Is there anything else we're supposed to do tonight? There's not. So I'd like to thank you for this and joining me. And I have 0 o'clock in front of me, so I have no idea what time it is. But I will stop the recording now and we'll do some questions and answers.